Anyone paying attention to personal finance for the last 25 years is more than likely to be familiar with Robert Kiyosaki, the best-selling author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the book, and the famous brand. And today we're lucky enough to have him here with us on Valuetainment. Mr. Kiyosaki, welcome to the show. Let's talk money.
All we talk is money. All we talk is money. All we talk is money. All we talk is money.
I'm honored. Patrick had me on Valuetainment a long time ago, so I've always been grateful. So thank you.
No, thank you. So this is the remix version of what you did with Patrick here with Valuetainment now. So today I wanted to focus on three main areas that we can cover and go deep on. Number one, capitalism here in the United States. Number two, a person's relationship with debt. And lastly, when to save and when to invest. So with that being said, can I start with the first question on capitalism?
Sure.
Okay. So, you have some famous people out there, including Richard Wolff, famous socialist economist. You have Andrew Yang, who's currently running for mayor of New York City, famous entrepreneur, famous for universal basic income. And you also have someone like Ray Dalio, famous billionaire hedge fund guy, who are all saying, in a certain extent, some saying capitalism just doesn't work, obviously the socialists, and some saying that it actually needs to be reformed. So then you have millions of younger Americans today who have not experienced what you've experienced, who are looking at places like Canada and Scandinavian countries like Norway and Sweden, and they're saying, well, maybe this socialism thing ain't so bad. So my question to you is, Mr. Kiyosaki, does capitalism here in America today need to be reformed at all in America?
I don't think the problem is capitalism. The problem is education. There's no financial education in our schools. I'll give you a little bit of my background. I grew up in Hawaii, and I went to school in New York, and I went to military school. And at military school, we're taught differently. So as the military academy, one of the 5 federal military academies, like West Point Naval Academy, mine was Kings Point. And the economics we're taught at Kings Point in the academy is different than the economics taught in socialist schools like Harvard. And it's so opposite. So as they say, that all coins have 3 sides. Most educators are on the socialist side, like my poor dad. My poor dad worked for the Peace Corps. I worked for the Marine Corps. And so never the twain shall meet. So the reason we have socialism on the rise is very simply because there's no financial education in our schools. And the other thing is what most people don't realize, and I was a Marine, I fought in Vietnam twice, helicopter pilot, is the people that murdered the most people are socialists. So when you look at body counts, because as Marines, we always went by body count. And unfortunately, our body counts were high on both sides. But socialists have killed the most people. And that's where we're heading to. That's my latest book is coming out, which Patrick will be part of. It's called the Capitalist Manifesto. And the reason I'm writing Capitalist Manifesto is our schools have no idea what socialism is. It's tragic what's happening. And the reason we have Comrade Biden and Comrade Kamala Harris in office is they're hardcore socialists. Biden is going to kill more jobs than any other president in history. Then he's going to raise the minimum wage to $15, and unemployment is going to go through the roof. Then we're going to have civil unrest. So that's why Patrick and I are kind of kindred spirit, should we say.
Simpatico, I would say.
Simpatico. I think he was Army Airborne Ranger and all that.
But you don't hold that against him, do you?
He's nuts. Anyway, so we just think differently. I'm not against socialism. I just don't want to be a socialist. I'd rather be a capitalist.
I'm with you on that. The back to the part with school. Part of the reason that I even started this show is because we all go to school. When I'm talking, younger Americans, possibly even older ones, we all go to school, right? Public school I went to here in South Florida. in Miami, and we all learn algebra and biology and chemistry and trigonometry and even wood shop, but no money class. So what's up with that? So no money class. So we enter the real world. We get jobs. They tell you to, or maybe you go to college first, you take on loads of student debt. You enter the real world, and now they ask you to sign up for your 401k. What's that? They ask you to get benefits. I don't know. What plan do I get? What's at this? So you end up in the working world, and all of a sudden you got a budget. You got to deal with maybe student loan debt. You're getting credit card debt because you want to keep up with the Joneses. You don't know how to invest. The whole thing. So why don't they teach money in school? I'm sure you have a prediction or philosophy on the reasoning behind that.
Well, that's the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. My poor dad was a hardcore socialist. They're good people. Don't get me wrong. They think the way you help people is you give them money. Give a man a fish, and they become a welfare dependent. And a capitalist believes in teaching people to fish. And I would say 98.99% of all school teachers are hardcore Marxist. I grew up with them. They're good people, but they don't know how to make money. I mean, I don't know if you went, the school I went to, every school teacher was broke.
True. Yes. I was a substitute teacher before I got into the financial world, and I said, I can't do this anymore. I make $100 a day. This doesn't work out. So I'm with you on that, Mr. Kiyosaki.
Yeah. So I rather teach people to fish, and socialists like Biden and all those guys, they're going to destroy the whole economy. When they canceled the pipeline and whatever that thing was.
Keystone Pipeline, Keystone XL, yeah.
New deal. Unemployment, they're gonna wipe out Exxon. I think Exxon and Mobil are gonna merge or something like this.
Exxon and Chevron are in talks about potentially merging.
I worked with Chevron. I was a tanker officer for them for about a few years.
Wow.
And I can fly. I learned nothing about money. So I think what we're going. So I brought this as reminders as to where we're going. I think you recognize these things.
I can't see them so well. What are these? Are those Chinese dollar? What is that? The yen?
No, Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe.
1 billion Zim dollars.
Okay.
And this is $5 billion.
Nice. What can that buy?
This is the US dollar in a few years.
Really? And with hyperinflation, you think?
You have Comrade Kamala and Comrade Joe Biden and his bagman son, Hunter, who work for China and Ukraine and Russia, our arch rivals, in charge of our government. And you look at now, they have Janet Yellen, head of the Treasury, and she was head of the Fed. So what that means to me is that the Fed and the Treasury are now one. So they're going to open up the 1913 Federal Reserve Act, and they're going to go to Andrew Yang heaven. They're going to go to UBI and MMT. So they're going to print more of these Zim dollars called the US dollar. And so that's why for years, since 1964, I've been saving silver. Since 1972, I've saved gold. I have no ETFs. And now I save Bitcoin. I don't trust my government. I don't trust the school system. And I don't like the idea, because I went to military school. We were taught to fight for capitalism. Harvard and Yale and Stanford right now, they teach people to idolize identity politics, which is the economics of victims. And so that's why they're getting ready to just give people fish. And that's fine, but you better buy more gold, silver, and Bitcoin.
Okay, let's pick up right there on gold, silver, and Bitcoin. I wanted to touch on debt and saving, which we'll circle back to, but let's get to investing. So this week in the news, obviously, this past week was the whole GameStop, Wall Street bets, short sell fiasco, and then a couple days ago, you have Elon Musk and Tesla invests $1.5 billion into Bitcoin. So I know you've been very clear just now that you're a big fan of Bitcoin. I actually saw your interview with Raoul Pal, and he's the guy that got you kind of over the hump on Bitcoin. And obviously you're a big advocate of commodities like gold and silver. So let's talk to the young Americans out there in their 20s or 30s who have not started investing yet for whatever reason. And let's say they've saved up some money, they have an emergency fund, they got a little cushion, and let's say they have $10,000 to get started investing. Robert, where do you recommend they start first when it comes to investing?
I always recommend invest in your head, in your brain. That's why I have tremendous respect for what Patrick Bet-David and you guys have done. You're taking education from real teachers. The trouble with academics is they're fakes. Just like GameStop is a fake asset. But you look at, they tried, the Reddit guys, God bless them, and the other guys, Robin Hoods.
Yep.
They tried to mess with silver. The trouble with silver is a real asset. GameStop's a fake asset.
Mm-hmm.
So
Manipulated.
messing with silver, the richest guys on earth use silver. Nobody wants GameStop. I don't know what it's called.
Right.
But
Why do the richest guys on earth utilize silver or gold in that?
Silver.
Okay, why silver?
Silver is an industrial metal. It's used, it's going to be used in the Green New Deal. Tesla is going to use it in batteries. It's medical, water purification. Just study silver. I started saving silver in 1964 when I was 16 years old because I picked up a little dime and the dime had copper around the edge of it. That was the first time they were faking money. And at that point, it was Gresham's law. I'm 16 years old. I don't know anything, but I do know fake. I do know fake teachers. And I do know fake money. This here is fake money.
Mm-hmm.
This is the US dollar in a few years.
So
I'm just saying, as young people, what did school teach you about money? Be a day trader? Be a Reddit trader? You gotta be crazy.
So to piggyback on your point, obviously I agree with you 100% on the best investment is investing in yourself. Obviously Warren Buffett is famous for saying that. Investing into your brain, investing into knowledge, investing in Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and other books that we can talk about. But let's talk about like actual hard asset allocation. Are you actually saying that young people, if they're going to start investing, may want to look into silver first and foremost? Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, as you know, Bitcoin made the move with Elon, and gold is pretty stable right now because it is controlled by the biggest guys. Silver is used by industry. It's used in batteries, Green New Deal's coming up and all this, and it's suppressed. You worked on Wall Street. It's 1,000% manipulated, and so all the shorts are holding down the price of silver because if silver goes up, the business models of Apple, Toshiba, all the electronic companies blow out the window. So they've got to suppress the price of silver. But as you know, that can only last for so long. So you don't have to go to college to save gold and silver. All I did was a kid, is I just put it in a bag. And I would take $1. I'd go, it was 1964. I go to the bank and I'd take out like $10 and I'd get a roll of dimes. And I'd go through the dimes, and anything that had copper on it, I gave it back to the bank, and I kept them on with no copper in it. So I had a whole pile of silver. I was a rich kid, but nobody knew it because everybody thought the dime was a dime. It was fake dimes. So it's just, it's not that hard. It's just common sense.
Gotcha. I'm taking notes, by the way, Robert. I got silver with a big circle on it. Let's circle back to Bitcoin now, because I said I saw you and your wife Kim. You interviewed on your radio show Raoul Pal. Is that how you say his name? And he was the one that sort of said, let's get going on this Bitcoin thing, and sort of convince you to go over the hump. And obviously, Elon Musk made the $1.5 billion investment into Bitcoin this past week. What is it about Bitcoin that is so intoxicating, or that makes you such a believer now?
Well, it's not really Bitcoin, it's blockchain.
Okay.
And it's a contract. And, when guys like, Peter Schiff's my friend, and he and Max Kaiser go back and forth. I don't know why to me, it's like a food fight. Max Kaiser says Peter Schiff is stupid, and Kaiser says, and Schiff says Kaiser is stupid. I always support what Yogi Berra, the great New York Yankees catcher, said.
Yeah.
When you come to a fork in the road, take it. So I'm glad I took Bitcoin when it was like $9,000.
Look at it now, almost at 45.
But I'm not buying anymore.
You're
I
not.
bought a lot, and I'm not buying anymore. And I was buying gold at 300. I'm not buying anymore.
Why are you no longer buying Bitcoin? Do you not think it can go from 45 to 100 or to 500? 500,000, 400, you know?
I'm not a speculator.
Gotcha.
I'm an investor. Okay, those are
You're
very
buying. Speak about being I assume when you buy silver, you bought and hold silver all this time. You're not selling it. Is that right?
No, I never sell.
So you buy and hold.
Like, you know, these idiots flip real estate. Why would you do that? You get a good property, I keep it forever. And then I'm going to put my millions and millions and millions of dollars into a thing called a CRT, Charitable Remainder Trust, and I'm going to pass it into perpetuity as charity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never going to spend that money, but it's going to be used as charity. I'll give it back. But most people are flipping houses. That's really stupid because you get nailed with capital gains tax. You flip Bitcoin, you get capital gains. I just don't like paying taxes. If you ever listen to Lenin said two things, okay, that was crucial. He says you want to debauch capitalism, you want to kill capitalism, debauch the currency. And that's what Nixon did in 1971. And he says, if you want to kill capitalism, tax, tax, tax. And that's what Biden's doing right now.
Tax.
So that's why what real financial education is, that sign back here says cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a cash flow fanatic. I want to make sure the cash is flowing in and none is flowing to the government. That's why Trump and I don't pay taxes legally. We're real estate guys.
Mm-hmm.
So
let's talk about real estate for a second.
wait, hang on.
Yes, sir.
I don't think anybody understands the power of debt. And these idiots out there are telling you get out of debt. Well, debt is money. That's what happened in 1971 when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. So in 2008, you were probably on Wall Street at the time or something. I thought I died and went to heaven. They dropped interest rates to all-time lows, and the best real estate floated to the surface on the market. So I borrowed $300 million and bought real estate with debt. Now, the average person can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I have this board game cash flow, so you can understand the way capitalists think. I don't like the stock market. I would have made billions in the stock market, except that, I do have to sleep at night. That's the reason.
Fair enough. Can we talk about real estate and debt and the relationship with that?
Yeah.
Let's start with debt, because I remember you called into, this was probably 3 or 4 months ago, you called into the Bet David podcast. And this was this was right after the election. So, we were dealing with some of the ramifications of all that. And you said, and I'm going to quote you here, Robert, you said, you don't need money because you can go to the bank and borrow it. You also said you have $1 billion in debt and you borrow money to buy real estate. Put yourself in the shoes of the average American. What should their relationship with debt look like?
They should, another friend of mine, I forget his name now, but he always says live debt free.
Yeah.
I forget his name.
We know the man you're talking about, Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey. He's a good friend of mine. He's accurate. If you have no financial education, live debt free. But if you want to do what a real capitalist does, which is use debt and pay no taxes, because that's what happened in 1971. The US dollar became debt and it was only offset via taxes. In other words, the only way debt can be paid off is by the American taxpayer paying taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So I started studying. And so in 1973, I took my first real estate course and I never stopped. That's why I have tremendous respect for what Patrick Bet-David and Valuetainment is doing, is because you guys are teaching people from the real world of money. Now, I'm not saying buy real estate or stocks or bonds or mutual funds. I'm saying please get educated and listen to real teachers. I would never tell you to live debt free. I would never tell you to invest in a mutual fund. You know how manipulated those things are. I don't trust ETFs, and bonds are the worst investment possible today. But that's what everybody's getting into. So we're going to have what the Marine Corps says, it's an F word, There's going to be a big one coming up soon. And that's why I wrote the book, Who Stole My Pension? Because all the bad assets are dumped in pension funds by Wall Street. You know that, I know that. But the average guy doesn't. They go to school, they get a job, and they get a 401k. I mean, for most people, that's the best thing they can do if they don't want to invest in their financial education.
Mm-hmm.
That's my advice.
Well said. Obviously, I'm using some of the quotes that you said the last time that we all spoke on Patrick's podcast, and you said, if I may paraphrase, you said you weren't shy about it either. You said the following: "Saving is for losers." That's funny to me because my whole catchphrase is "save that money," which we can get into. So when you hear stats like this, Robert, 75% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. 70% have less than $1,000 in savings. 50% don't have $500 for an emergency. 25% have no savings. A lot of that, yes, does have to do with lack of financial education in school. So my question is, what's your advice to those people, struggling Americans? Maybe they were laid off. The pandemic obviously didn't help things, exacerbated things. What's your advice to those people on saving who are not exactly in a position to go to the bank and take out a, $100 million loan? Zimbabwe dollars?
So once you save those, you can use them as toilet paper. I'm being a wise ass because I'm a U.S. Marine.
I speak that language, so we're okay. Don't worry. I speak wise ass.
And most millennials, are snowflakes. They can't handle the truth, as Nicholson said in A Few Good Men. But
they can't handle it.
If you wanted to know the truth, you'd be listening to Valuetainment. That's why they come to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Or if Dave Ramsey was here, I'd agree 100% with him. If you don't have any financial education, live debt-free, but I wouldn't save dollars, I would save silver. Because silver is about to move again. But I think this is what I found when I found out about Bitcoin, was that if it's valuable, you hang on to it. And because in 71, when the Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, there's something intuitive. Human beings, when it comes to money, are pretty smart. And they know that cash is trash. So they spend it as fast as they can. That's why there's no savings. That's my opinion. I can't prove that.
Gotcha.
But I'm never going to say, I'm never going to spend my silver. I'm never going to spend my gold. I'm never going to spend my Bitcoin. I'm going to put it into a child remainder trust with all my real estate and pass it on for perpetuity because it's valuable. That's why GameStop had no value, but silver did, and that's why the Robinhood guys and Reddit guys couldn't move the silver market.
They tried to manipulate it, but they couldn't.
No, because the biggest players in the world need silver. It was the guys, the guys in the COMEX and all that stuff who are manipulating the price. They're not the end user. The end user is Apple, Tesla, water purification companies, electronic companies. You don't mess with Superman. And so the price of silver is suppressed intentionally. So that's why, I stopped buying at 30. So it's about 30 today. There comes a time when you stop. I take a position. I probably have millions in silver in storage outside this country. Real silver, no ETFs, no paper. And when I get time to go to the great rodeo in the sky, I'll just pass it on.
I'm going to follow up on this trust for my last question. I know we're winding down here, but let's just talk about real estate real quick. Obviously, you're a big fan of real estate. Buy and hold, as you've said. I think you specialize in buying apartment complexes, not so much commercial. You've said for people not to invest in real estate unless they're ready to study. You've also said if you don't want to study real estate, you can get a 401k and die. Quite humorous. But talk to the people out there who, buy a house, take out a mortgage. Interest rates are low right now. They're making their payments. Would you consider just buying a house, having a mortgage, a good investment?
It depends.
Single family home.
It depends on the person and the place. As you know, there's an exodus out of New York City in that area, Chicago, San Francisco, LA, and they're moving to your neck of the woods in Florida and Texas. But the facts are there's no net gain in real estate. It's just movement. People are migrating like they're escaping the Communist Republic of California and New York. So with real estate, I would study this. One big reason, okay? Gold, silver, Bitcoin are liquid. Stocks are liquid. Even REITs are liquid. That's a huge advantage. You make a mistake with my Bitcoin, I'm out. There's a shortage of Bitcoin, there's a shortage of silver, shortage of gold. Stocks are liquid. This is the biggest advantage you have. Real estate is not liquid. And I've been the skipper of the Titanic a number of times. I thought I bought a no-lose piece of property and I lost. There's so many moving parts to real estate, but you don't know them until you actually get into it.
Or have to try to sell that.
Yeah, you can't get out. They're not. Real estate is technically not liquid.
Right.
As stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs are. So that's the big advantage. That's why I agree with Dave Ramsey. If you don't know anything, stay in paper, save money, stay liquid. But if you really would like to hold assets that hold their value, right today it's silver. It's about $30.
Silver. I'm gonna get a silver tattoo after this interview because it has been imprinted into my mind.
There's something happened. The Green New Deal is going to be real. That's why who's Chevron and who's merging?
Chevron and Mobil potentially.
Yeah, because so Biden has come out with a carbon tax, and they're going to punish anybody who's in oil. And so I'm now invested. I've always been a greenie, a closet greenie, and I'm now investing in Green New Deal, socialist type agendas. But
taking advantage of what you see as the pitfalls.
Yeah, but I invest in the pre-IPO phase. That's the difference. Instant. That's the difference. If I buy a stock, I'm an outsider. So that's the value of a financial education that my rich dad gave me. That's what I teach in the game Cash Flow.
Gotcha.
You got to start thinking in terms of cash flow more than anything else. Which way is the cash flowing? Is it flowing in or flowing out? And for most people, it's flowing out. That's why they can't save.
Well said.
It's very simple. I just keep it simple. I'm a Marine. Keep things simple.
Keep it simple. With the KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid. I know that. Here's my final question to you. And by the way, it's been a privilege and an honor sitting down and speaking to you. Retirement has certainly different now than in previous generations, right? In previous generations, my grandparents, even maybe one of your rich dads or your poor dad, they sit in a rocking chair. Maybe they're lucky to make it to 70. They collect Social Security for a few years. Boom, they're gone. Now people are living longer than ever, 80, 90, 100. You said you're the oldest baby boomer. I'm the oldest millennial. You're 74. You look great. You're still killing the game. So I have a term for retirement, and that term is called chilling. And chilling is when you own your time. You have the free time to do whatever you want. You can travel. You can pursue a passion. You can donate. You can spend time helping people, and you can leave a legacy. Obviously, you've touched on your children's trust. What is Robert Kiyosaki's chilling? What's chilling to you?
I retired a long time ago. That's the game Cash Flow. I never had to work again. I work harder now that I don't need any money.
Yeah.
I have 8,500 apartment houses. I have millions in gold, millions in silver, and millions in Bitcoin. I pay no taxes, like Trump. Now, the socialists, communists, and Marxists hate that. But that's what happens when you go to school. You don't understand what capitalists really do. And that's the challenge. So get educated or quit your bitching. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Kiyosaki. It's been a privilege. And I believe now we're right at the time for you to speak with Patrick Bet-David. So Can I get you to say at least one time, save that money?
No. Save the Zimbabwe dollar. It's worth more now than the US dollar.
Save that Zimbabwe dollar. Respect. I appreciate it. Much respect. Thank you, Robert Kiyosaki.
Thank you.
So that was my interview with Robert Kiyosaki. As you can see, homeboy loves him some silver. Very interesting. I'm going to definitely look into that. That was my biggest takeaway from the interview, is his thoughts on silver. Very specific, very niche. Anyway, what were your biggest takeaways from the legendary Robert Kiyosaki's interview here on Valuetainment? I'll tell you one thing that he would not say at the very end of the interview. He would not say, save that money. That's cool. I got it. Well, one day we might get him to say that. But it's a cool, you can agree, you can disagree. One thing we certainly agree upon is the importance of financial literacy and understanding how money works. That's for sure. If you want to know how money works, you can check out this video right here, how your money should flow. And thank you for tuning into Valuetainment. Until next time, save that money.
All we talk is money. All we talk is money. All we talk is money.